Hello and good afternoon again. What's up, little guy? How you doing over there? He stood up as I walked by, and that that got me. Welcome to the afternoon session today, and hopefully lunch was good, and hopefully the extended buffer for lunch won't put us to sleep, or as we say down here in the South, in the itis phase of eating, right? We get tired, sleepy, and want to go to sleep. So anyway, it is my privilege to introduce two individuals to you today that are going to talk a lot about not only EAM, but the entire asset lifecycle intelligence division. And so, as you guys know, we've had some change in leadership over the year, and I am particularly excited. I was just telling them a little while ago, I love the energy, the passion, and how much Tom has really just stepped into this space and owned it, and where he's pushing not only the product, but Hexagon and the partners, and I think it's an exciting time, right? So without any further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce Tom Kurtz from the Portfolio Strategy team to kick off our 2 o'clock keynote. So thank you, Tom, and thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, Alex, appreciate it. You're going up then? Good afternoon. Am I okay? Yep, testing. Good afternoon, great to be here. Thanks for coming to Greenville. Thanks for coming to the session here. I know as Alex mentioned, the post-lunch session can sometimes go either way. So we're gonna try to keep things interesting today. As Alex mentioned, my name is Tom Kurtz. I have a running joke that I've been using the last 24 hours. You may have heard me say it. This is my last week of firsts. So I joined Hexagon 1 year as of next week. And so it's been a fantastic year. It's been a fantastic opportunity to have a first Hexagon Live and to have a first partner enablement and to have a first Streamline. So very excited to be here. A little bit about myself, I won't spend too much time. As mentioned, I've been here about a year. My entire career has been in consulting and software. So I started my career at Anderson Consulting, which is now Accenture. First 10 years was consulting, and then the last 20 years have been software, including the last 15 years at a little German startup called SAP. So for those of you working with that vendor, I have a lot of experience in that way as well. Alex just mentioned that we want to talk not only about EAM today, but the broader ALI portfolio, and that's my job. So I'm going to speak for about 15, 20 minutes, and I want to talk not just about the thing that brings us all here together, Hexagon EAM, and a lot of the history. Another thing I learned, having been here a year, this is my first time ever to Greenville, South Carolina. So, and I know for many people in this room, it is not your first time to Greenville. So I learned so much at these kind of events, and I know the history of Hexagon EAM is with us always here, but one of the things that drew me to Hexagon was when I interviewed, I was interviewing with an EAM, a role for an EAM title. But in my conversations, I didn't want to just talk about EAM. I was hoping that I wasn't just focused on EAM. I wanted to learn more than that. And I always go back to a conversation I had, this was with a customer many years ago, and I heard her utter the statement, I don't want to just maintain my equipment, I want to manage the entire life cycle of my assets. And that really stuck with me in terms of what she really meant by that. And we're going to talk some about that. So if we're looking at maintaining the entire life cycle of our assets, what does that look like? Well, one thing that I want to touch on is performance management. And what do I mean by performance management? So the idea of those same customers, when I would talk to them about maintenance execution, so the things I can do in a maintenance product. I want to be able to open a maintenance request. I want to create a work order. I want to execute on that work order. I want to look at analytics. But a lot of customers would say, I want to go further upstream than that. I want to start looking at risk management. I want to start looking at cost control. I want to actually go a little bit further upstream in those processes. I want to manage my asset strategy, and I want to be able to do my maintenance execution. So we're going to talk today briefly, and remember, I'm giving a flyby on all this. One of the advantages of this week is a lot of what I'm talking up here about today, we have an opportunity to go into the Expo Center and learn more about. We have sessions that I'm going to touch on here this afternoon and tomorrow that we can go into more about. Another area is visual intelligence. So I'm going to talk on an acquisition that we did recently as last month, that we're really excited about. If you've been to the Expo Center, you might have had a chance to meet Sparky. Sparky is part of the Hexagon family and is a tool that we can use from a reality capture standpoint. And how can the reality capture, the generation of a point cloud solution, the association with those geotags into a creation of an asset, and that's asset sitting in our repository, how can all that come together to really make it a digital twin for our business? Digital procedures. So one of the other things I learned over the last year working with a lot of ALI is, okay, we do procedures and documentation in EAM, but we have some other solutions that we do it. We do some permit to work or some safety considerations, we have other solutions. And part of what we want to touch on today is where we can use EAM for that, where we can expand beyond that into some of these other solutions, and procedures is a part of that, the integrity of information is a part of that, and we're going to touch on information flow there. Operations management, so when you start getting into not just the personas of maintenance technicians, being able to do the maintenance management, but also looking at the operators themselves, things like operator rounds, things like shift handovers, things like noticing things and being able to document them and have that feed downstream into a potential maintenance request. And finally, engineering management. So when I first got here, you've probably seen our lovely slideware, and there's discussion of asset integrity and reliability, there's discussion of maintenance management, and there was this term, sustainable engineering. I came from a maintenance background. I don't get it. What's sustainable engineering when it comes to maintenance? And what that's touching on there is being able to bring together the change management side, looking at the information you might have in your engineering documentation, in your design specs, and being able to feed that down into your in your process. Not every customer profile is going to need that, but a lot of our customers do. So these are the areas, when you start to look at this, you start moving from maintenance to a broader scenario of smart digital operations and maintenance. It goes back to the customer that I talked to that said, Tom, I don't want to just maintain my equipment, I want to manage the entire life cycle. So as we start to go into each of these, I'm going to drill first into performance management. And as we get here, so there's a product, Hexagon APM. So I want to touch on this session a lot with the capabilities, the integrated work processes, if you will, but I will highlight products as well. So as we look at this graphic here, on the upper left, there's the two axes talk about effectiveness and talks about efficiencies. And I love this view. A lot of our customers love this view because as you look at it, you say, okay, let's talk about the upper left one. Talk about an effective strategy before execution. I can look at my strategy. I can put different risk profiles together. I can create different strategies, but if I don't cascade that down into dynamic maintenance plans, if I don't actually look at that and say, how can I translate that into my actual maintenance execution, I've got a great strategy, but I'm not executing on it well. The other way is I'm a great execution person. I can create maintenance requests. I can actually go be reactive. I can actually fix things as I want, but I'm not necessarily being as strategic as I want. I'm not necessarily looking at dynamic plans based on different risk profiles, and I'm not managing that effectively. So where we're trying to target with our customers is how do we drive to that upper right? How do we look for optimized asset management? And so as we look at this, again, I want to look at things from an integrated work process standpoint. So there's a couple ways we look at it. We talk a lot about maintenance 2, maintenance 3, maintenance 4. I want to look at it a slightly different way. All of us are looking at our processes today, and regardless of where you consider yourselves in terms of that maturity, you have different scenarios of where you can take advantage of that reliability strategy. So coming from the right side here, if you're looking at EAM, you have preventative maintenance and other standard work that's dispatch. As that's dispatch, you have valuable data coming from the checklists and inspection, and it's captured. You have asset health calculated, and it's detailed in APM. So this is an example of how that information, the failure history information, can be brought from EAM into your APM system. But you can look at it from another way as well. You have other systems, and that we're touching on them with the overall operations and maintenance. Am I pulling in operator amount information? Is that operator out there? Is he capturing or she capturing information that I can feed in that way? So can I pull in data from historians, from PLCs, from all of that information, And can I pull that in from connected equipment operator rounds into Hexagon APM? There's alerts that I can have as a part of that. And workers can quickly triage, diagnose, et cetera. So that's an example. The reason I bring this up is because it's coming from both perspectives. It's not a matter of, I have to get EAM to a certain state and then I can look at reliability. Reliability considerations are relevant today, no matter where you are in your process. And that brings you together for smarter asset management. So I'm not going to go through each of these in the interest of time, but these are just some of the new value streams that we see as a result of this. So quantitative identification, bring to light some of these risky, some of these identified risks faster as a result. Continuous evaluation, so again, that information continuously coming in from EAM, the ability to do predictive and be able to look at that ahead of time and continuous evaluation. With this information, you can act on threats and stay ahead of it. Be able to benchmark certain assets. So again, the thing I always talk about with asset criticality is certain assets should not be the same as other assets, right? Their assets on your left are easier to get spare parts for, they're cheaper if they go down, they're not as impactful if they go down, whereas these might have bigger severities and bigger risks, and we want to be able to benchmark that according to different asset classes. Maintenance execution, as we've touched on, and finally, the functional alignment between your different functions of the business, including engineering, operations, and reliability. Today we have a short amount of time, so we are kind of going everything at a high level. My colleague Rachel. Now this is what I will say here. I'm going to plug a couple of examples of sessions you can go to either this afternoon or tomorrow. Make sure to check your apps because these are not the only sessions. We have a lot of fantastic sessions. I just wanted to call out the ones that were related to the specific topics I'm touching on here. Rachel has an EAM plus APM is better together. That's actually right after this session back over in the main building. Okay, so that is our performance management. As we look at visual intelligence now, I mentioned a minute ago an acquisition. So last month, many of you know Giuseppe Damonte and the CAD service team, and we did close our acquisition with them. This is something we've been talking about for a while. For those of you who don't know Giuseppe, fantastic individual. He wanted to be here this week. We're actually having our Hexagon Welcome Day in Parma, Italy with the CAD service team. So we've got some executives over there. I'll be on a call with them tomorrow. So he couldn't be here. He sends his best, but it's a fantastic opportunity to continue to work with his team. And you see the quote there from our CEO about the expertise that brings in. I'm not going to give a test on this slide. I know people have seen this slide before. A lot of history on this, but one of the reasons I bring this up is because it's an opportunity to show that this is a company, not all the way back to the very beginning of this slide, but it's a company that's been with us during a lot of this time. Now, so that's CAD service. That looks at things from a kind of an advanced visualization standpoint, but I want to get back to that concept of reality capture. And one of the advantages of reality capture is you can utilize things like, say, robotic dogs that you're able to use in real-world situations, like our dog Sparky here. We've got the sensor on top, and when you're able to do that, and you have it on drones, you can have it on an object like this, but you're able to capture this reality. Okay, so Tom, why is that interesting? Why do I want to capture reality? And the reason is, once we have that information, you can bring it in, render it as a point cloud, take those geotags and actually associate it with assets. And Sparky, if it's okay with you, we will take a couple of minutes to actually let the group see this on the screen. it goes on for a little bit more, but I think you get the gist of it. So what we wanted to show, we looked at a few different things there. Through a process like Sparky or some other way of reality capture, we're able to bring all that information in. The beginning of the video, you saw that come in as point cloud data. You then saw being able to get the level set in an administrative view on where are all of the different assets in my environment, and then I could actually go into EAM and associate those individual geotags, kind of the GPS coordinates, if you will, of these different pieces of equipment. Now they're associated with the defined assets in my system, and I can actually go a step further, helping situate my operators, helping situate my maintenance technicians when they actually go to do the work. More on this tomorrow. So as mentioned, Sparky and his team are over in the expo floor today and tomorrow, but we also have a session there with the Leica and the EAM reality viewer roundtable. So that's tomorrow afternoon as well. As we continue on to digital procedures, we'll pick up the pace a little bit here. So this is, I mentioned earlier, in the context of the digital procedures, the information integrity, being able to complement what we do from an EAM perspective into the procedures, into our over AKMS system. So AKMS, Accelerator Knowledge Management System, or Accelerator KMS, is the product that you'll hear about here. I'm not going to go through each of these boxes, but it shows you some of the business challenges that it helps address, some of the end user values there. From a business challenge, some standardization, so wanting to be able to have to meet compliance, to be repeatable, having those procedures consistent, being able to look at auditability, being able to show after the fact the positive results. From an end user value perspective, the collaborative work. So one of the things you'll hear a lot about with AKMS and with digital procedures is we don't want to just have the documented information. We want to have it in the flow of the work. So we want to be able to have things contextual, being able to have those procedures tied into the actual day-to-day work of our operators and of our technicians. So again, not a test. I won't go into all the specifics here, but I wanted to show this slide for a couple reasons. If you look up, I'm going to do that here because my old eyes are better up this way. When you see terms like mitigating incidents, learning in the flow of work, that's what I was touching on there, being able to do it in the context of the work you're doing. And then when you look at the solution offering, so component content management system, this is what you hear a lot in terms of a legacy content and procedures. So as you're going through, imagine a technician as part of finding out that they have to fix something, they go and fix something, they realize, hey, this procedure needs to be updated, they can work and update it there. And in terms of how that impacts EAM and why that's interesting from an EAM perspective, yes, we can do document management within EAM, but what we're doing in our May release is bringing the integration closer. So the ability to integrate with the EAM document library, the ability to associate AKMS documents with EAM asset classes and so on. So again, the ability to bring these closer together, that's the goal. With all of our products, we want EAM to be able to complement all these different products and bring that smart digital digital operations and maintenance that we touched on. And we do have a session on this tomorrow with Chris, a session on harnessing the power of Hexagon Accelerator KMS, Ignite Your Procedural Transformation Journey. And rounding out the next couple here before I hand it over to Pete, as we go into operations management. So this one, so J5 is our product. So J5, and then the next one we talk about, we don't have specific sessions here, but we did want to call them out in terms of some of the operational components or work processes that I mentioned earlier. So the concept of being able to do operator rounds. So as operators are going around making their rounds, they're able to capture the information, the shift handover as they go from different shifts, and then how does that information feed in to the EAM system. So that's an integration that's already there. So there's a little bit of information on it here in terms of being able to view your EAM work orders. From the J5 handover, so the shift handover report, you see some of the other pieces there. I won't go into all the details here, but that product's called J5, and the integration's already there with EAM. And finally, the last piece, as we go into engineering management. So the idea here, again, going back to that sustainable engineering topic. So one of the challenges that we see a lot of the owner operators that we work with, a lot of the challenge that we would see is being able to keep all that information up to date. So you have things like compliance, your maintenance management considerations, your process safety, documentation, and so on. And you have information coming in on a regular basis. So you have design modifications, plan extensions, and so forth. And how are we able to keep that information sound? And it's not just from a maintenance and EAM standpoint. You could potentially look at this from all the way in your earlier project work onto your later maintenance work and maintenance and operations. So as we look at that again, wanting to be able to bring that together, the product SDX, or most recently released SDX2, is a knowledge management, it's a document management system that brings this information together. So a little information about from the architecture standpoint there, but again, trying to bring it together from an EAM perspective. You see a little information here about how the Hexagon EAM connector with SDX can bring together the SDX tags with the position in position data points within EAM. So I just wanted to touch on that, a little bit more information there. So bring it all the way, that brought it all the way around, and that is what we talk about when we try to drive things from a smart digital operations and maintenance perspective. But I know that where we started, back to that middle circle and wanting to get more information about EAM, I'm going to now invite, I'm going to take Sparky back to his doghouse, and I'm going to bring Pete out here to be able to go into more depth on EAM. So Pete, over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Nicely done. How's everybody doing? So as Tom mentioned, my name is Pete Bynarowicz. I have been with the product going on 6 years, 7 years. I did not work at DataStream, so the mafia might whack me, but I did work at 50 DataStream Plaza at one point in my career, so RIP, but thank you for having me. What an awesome overview from Tom on smart digital operations and maintenance. I think it's a topic that we've been striving for a while. But Tom has been an awesome addition to the team. Joined a year ago, as he said. As part of his onboarding, we flew around the world to introduce Tom to partners and customers all over the world. EAM is everywhere, as you guys know, in this room today. And through that, I think we end up spending about 3 weeks together abroad. And if Tom can put up with me for 3 weeks, it's a pretty good sign he's going to be successful here. So a great addition to the team. Before I get going, I do want to give 2 more shout outs to wake you guys up a little bit too, because I know we're getting the itis. But first, where's Cecilia Foley? Where's Cecilia Foley? Cecilia Foley is a rock star from the Hexagon side. She really rallies all of the resources to make sure we can provide a wide-ranging agenda to you guys. So from Spot the Dog to AKMS to wide-ranging. We're talking about EAM, but we're talking about a lot more. So Cecilia does a great job of letting Hexagon know how important this user community is to us. So a round of applause for Cecilia. And then, of course, I got to give props to the Digital Thinker team. In my head, Alex was going to be sitting right here, and I was going to say, hey, Alex, stand up. Round of applause. But in reality, Alex is behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz. But I do want to shout out Alex and congratulate him for stepping into the role of president of Digital Thinker and then throwing on, again, another amazing Streamlined conference. So kudos to Alex and the whole Digital Thinker team on another great conference. And we can't say congratulations to Alex without saying goodbye to Tony on his semi-retirement. Tony was a legend in the EAM world, and we'll miss having his presence. Obviously, blessed to have Alex. But since he's not here, I can tell this story. I met Tony in person for the first time around 2 years ago. So I had known him for a while, but never met him. We're in Las Vegas, and he comes up to me right away. He goes, Peter, when I first hired you, I thought you were going to be some punk, but you turned out to be just fine. And I said, all right, I think I'm doing a good job. So I say that for 2 things. 1, because that's Tony Bolin and love him. And 2, I want to motivate Tom to one day earn that Tony Bolin seal of approval. Cool, so jumping into the roadmap. If you guys know me, you know I don't like to always just talk about what we're working on. I like to talk about what we have been working on in the past. It always sets up what we're working on, what's coming in the future. So I want to start with taking a look back at 2024, talk about some key initiatives, It'll give you guys a glimpse at a big project we're working on, and then we'll look at the roadmap as well. But just want to remind you guys, you're using the leading EAM system, yet year over year we continue to earn awards as an enterprise asset management solution. Just recently, last year, we earned the leader in the green quadrant, as noted by Verdantix. They shouted out our data management and interoperability capability, our operational risk capability, that some of it Tom just showed with our additional products. But we continue to be recognized year over year. This motivates us. I know Hexagon EAM is a really old product, but we're still young and hungry, and we like to be the best. So when I look back at last year's strategic drivers, we had 4 main buckets there. One was the war on clicks. This was an internal name, but since we're all family here, I decided to use it in the presentation. The war on clicks was really relentless pursuit to optimize mobility, to make that experience from a tablet at the scene of work as easy to use as possible. So we're going to look at a highlight that we released to help with the war on clicks. I don't think the war on clicks is over, but we made great strides last year. Another great topic is enterprise integration. We know EAM doesn't exist without ERP. You have to link maintenance to financials. We have to give you guys a way to do that. And the development team and the solution design team really delivered an amazing product last year in Bynarowicz Pro. So I want to remind everybody what the capabilities Bynarowicz Pro is, and that'll set up to some things that we're working on in the future. And the range of what we cover in this product is unbelievable. So we're talking about mobility, we're talking about enterprise integration. Last year we also introduced generative AI into the product for all cloud customers. Totally cutting edge. Like I said, EAM, I think the first line of code was written in 1989 or something like that. But we're up to speed with the latest trends in technology. We released Hexagon Alex, our native generative AI assistant that users can turn on today if they want, if their legal team will approve the T's and C's. And then finally, we'll cover just a quick screenshot of the voice of customer. I bring that up because we couldn't do this without you guys. We call it the voice of the customer. Sometimes we also call it the voice of Dora on the development side. But we're lucky to have an awesome user advisory board that's meeting later today, an ideas portal with tons of input. You guys go out of your way to help us be a better product. So couldn't do it without you, and you're always part of our roadmap. And I'm glad that joke landed. So digital work home screen was a great innovation from our side in mobility. We want to cater to the technicians with really fat fingers that might be wearing gloves, or that are only going to maybe a half a dozen screens in the system. We want a really eye-catching way to know how to get your work done. So that's what we delivered with digital work last year. You can configure this screen. You can pick the icons you want. I think there's over 20 options of icons. If you want more, I'm sure Dora will ask for more. If you want more, it's something we can look at. But really intuitive native mobile experience, catering to those users. Like you said, I've heard it all this week. Technology adoption is hard in an organization. So you want your users to want to use the system. But how often does that happen? So our goal and what motivates us is delivering a mobility product that users enjoy and really value. So awesome feature. I don't have a fancy slide, but Barbara Ferrer has a great session later this week on how to configure digital work, how to set it up. Some really deep tips and tricks coming out in that session, so please check it out if you don't have anything else. Moving on, connectivity through Bynarowicz Pro. So Bynarowicz Pro, I think it's kind of a pinnacle breakthrough for us. When we moved from our old company to Hexagon, we needed a solution. We needed an alternative for enterprise integration. Like I said, EAM doesn't exist without ERP. We have to link those two. But also in today's day and age, they say data is multiplying every 2 years. We know there's data everywhere. How do we harness it? How do we get it in EAM? How do we get it out of EAM? So we released Bynarowicz Pro last year. It allows you to harness key organizational data to improve your operations and drive better decision making. That's what we all want to do in this room. You can exchange, update, and share information between EAM and external systems. You can eliminate data entry issues by automating workflows. You can take data out, and I was talking to a partner yesterday. They're taking data out and they're throwing it in Power BI and business intelligence. So it makes data more fluid in our days, in this day and age. So really powerful tool built on some technology that had $1 billion development budget. So it's the real deal. It wasn't our budget, but it's the real deal. So if you haven't checked it out or considered it for your organization, think about it. Changing gears, Hexagon Alex, and speaking of sessions, Julio Roque has a deep session on Hexagon Alex tomorrow, I think, so please check that out. But Hexagon Alex was our first iteration of generative AI in EAM. I look at AI, well, for better or for worse, as a feature. It's not a roadmap. It is something we need to consider like mobility. Mobility isn't the end-all, be-all. It's a tool to help get things done. It's a really important tool, but it's a tool. And AI is something you need to deliver. You can't just change your website name to .ai and call it a day. You have to continue to strive and innovate there. So what we delivered is generative AI built for you guys, built for user assistance, built for two people, probably in this room. One for the admins. Hey, we've rolled out EAM in 2020, and our implementation kind of ended there. We hear your roadmap, we see what's new, but we've never expanded the features. Well, you can use Hexagon Alex to ask, hey, how do I use root cause analysis? How do I do RCM? How do I do all these new features and dynamic dispatch? How do I use all these new features that we've rolled out? Hexagon Alex is a conversational manner to help your admin to understand the product better. So that builds out your implementation roadmap. And the other flip side of it, it helps your users who may forget how the system worked. I spoke to a customer that had a natural disaster, and they got away from maintenance, they had to rebuild production, and now they're getting back into maintenance. And the users haven't opened EAM in a while because they had some really bad things go on. They can use Hexagon Alex to say, how do I create a work order? Hopefully we're doing more than that, but how do I use basic capability to the software? Because at the end of the day, there is one thing Hexagon knows more than you guys. That's not maintenance. You guys are the experts in maintenance, but we know EAM. So we built Alex to help you use EAM and understand EAM. We've fed it tips and tricks. We've taken some legacy documentation that's maybe older than I am on how to implement EAM and loaded it in to help Alex give you answers on the product capability. And why is this different? Because we hear about AI all the time. I went to a conference last week, probably, or 2 weeks ago. It was all about AI, and it's everywhere. But how many organizations delivered AI that's available for all SaaS customers as soon as it was released? If you're in the cloud, you can go into install parameters and turn on Hexagon Alex. That is AI optimized software. That goes back to our development principles of delivering something that's scalable and accessible. Something that we could build the coolest AI tool in the world. Not saying Alex isn't, but it wouldn't have been so expensive, nobody would use it. So that's really remarkable, I think, from what we've delivered last year. And then you look at, like I talked about, in-depth product knowledge. So why is Alex different than, your off-the-shelf LLMs? Well, we have spent, and somebody personally here who's presenting tomorrow has spent nights and weekends advancing Hexagon Alex knowledge in EAM. So it's a really committed effort to solve your problems. And finally, 99% accuracy. So as soon as you start getting bad answers, you lose trust in a solution. We know we want to do more with generative AI, but if we don't have accuracy in place now, it's only going to get worse down the road. It's going to get exponentially worse. When we start looking at your data and we give you wrong insights, you're never going to use the tool again. So we've achieved 99% accuracy with Hexagon Alex's response, which is really remarkable. Depends on the question you ask. We had to filter out some crazy questions you guys put in there. What else? So this is kind of a flyby of some of my favorite features from last year. We loaded Google Maps into EAM. So we gave you an alternative to Esri GIS for visualizing a map inside of EAM. Now if you have a Google Maps API, you throw an install parameter, boom, I can see my work orders and my crews on a map. Really innovative, really quick win. Leverage some of the expertise in-house at Hexagon to do that. Approval workflow. So my friend Danny Kilburn has a session on this. Danny has 3 kids, Margot, Eleanor, and approval workflow Kilburn. He has built this out fully, robustly, a really amazing capability. It's such an easy step into for any customer. Native, out of the box, built into the database of EAM, but trying to optimize approvals, stop waiting on emails, stop losing things, really cool. And then mobility we talked about a little bit. One of my other favorite ones is the work order schedule. So we said this concept of when I wake up, I open my phone to see how many meetings I have today on Outlook or on Teams. So why can technicians not have that same workflow? So we took the concept of meeting an Outlook calendar and applied it to mobility. And so through digital work, any work order activities that are assigned to you, you can see the time and the date and the location and the asset of that work. So, and then you can jump right to the activity record and start the clock. In the future, we want to take that and apply more data. Hey, where am I? Where are my crews? Where's everybody around me? But really cool jumping off point for mobility. And then the Leica guys, you saw the survey equipment out in the expo. So now you can take a survey and take those X, Y, Z coordinates and immediately load them into mobile, offline, or digital work. So if you work in wastewater and you bury a pipe, and you want to, if you ever have to unbury this pipe, you want to know exactly how deep it is. You can use that technology in EAM as well. So last year was a big year. I think it was a really successful year. Lucky to have a rock star development team by our sides to help us with that. So what's next? This is what you guys all came for, right? Well, the big thing that we're working on, so we talked about EAM as a leader in the asset management space. EAM has, since 1989, had code written. So we're talking about a very robust capability, functionality suite. There's pretty much EAM can pretty much do everything. But what we want to look towards is future-proofing that. That current generation, that next generation, they really want a solution that feels slick. They want that consumer-grade feeling. They grew up in video games, so they're used to getting the new Madden every year where the graphics get better and better and better. So for us right now, our goal is to future-proof EAM for the next generation. We want to deliver a product that's persona-driven, modern feeling, and intuitive user experience. So that's a huge effort. It's not something we're doing alone, and I'll jump into that process in a second. But since you're all here and you're an amazing part of the EAM community, we want to bring you into the fold and let you know that this is a huge priority for us. On top of making a product that looks really good, we want to make a product that's really powerful. So we're going to look at ways where we can inject technology inside of EAM in more ways than we already have. We've done Hexagon Alex, we've done DataBridge Pro. We're looking at analytics and reporting. Is there new tools that are available off the shelf or that we can build to help with any type of dashboarding? Everybody says, hey, I want to take data out, and I want to take EAM data out and put it in Power BI. Totally fair. But I want to, that motivates me. I want to deliver a product that's so capable and has robust reporting features and business intelligence features that you don't want to use Power BI. You want to use EAM for that. You want to have your out-of-the-box dashboards for part inventory or asset performance or work order performance, departmental spend. So that's an area we're looking at as well. You've seen what we've done with Overview 360 and the widgets. It's a great foundation for us to build on and use those lessons learned to inject new technology into EAM. And then finally, we want to change that word. It was intuitive, and I switched to innate. We want an easy-to-use product, like everybody does. Through the years, we've added more and more features, right? Every release, we have 2 releases a year. Each release has 150 to 200 features, 400 features a year. Those features are growing. Can we take a step back and say, is this the best way for features and capability to be presented to a user? Can we look at persona-driven experiences more than R5? Maybe we'll deliver R6. But looking at an easy-to-use product, because at the end of the day, when I talk about future-proofing, it's not the people that use EAM today, it's the people that are coming behind them. They are more transient, they come and go, so you don't have as much time to train them. So you want something that they can pick up and go with. So that's a huge priority for us. So want a product that looks good, that's super powerful and easy to use. That's your roadmap. Just kidding. But how do we get there? We work with our user community. We've done user interviews. We've gotten feedback, really comprehensive feedback on where they want to see the product, how their users respond to the product, what would help with adoption, and so forth. We've done industry analysis not only of other softwares in our space, but consumer-grade software. I always say that. I look at consumer. I look at the Delta app. I look at Delta Online. I look at Bank of America Online. This is what our users use when they're off the clock, and they expect the same experience when they're on the clock. So we do analysis in full scope in that sense. And we've done focus groups. Hey, what do you think of this proof of concept? What do you think of that? What do you think of that? They've been really brutal. Some have been really harsh. Some have been great. But we're really workshopping this to make sure what we deliver through this process is going to be a home run for you guys. And I'm not involved in this because we put our best guys on it, so don't yell at me. Yell at Lee tomorrow in the session tomorrow. No. And then another quick update. I didn't have a good slide for this, but all I wanted to say is Hexagon has a lot of products. And at the same time, EAM has a really robust integration management solution through Databridge Pro. At Hexagon, Databridge Pro is going to move beyond an EAM product, and it's going to help connect the whole portfolio. Just like Tom showed, we're working through those use cases. We have integrations that exist today. Now we want to expand Databridge Pro across the portfolio at Hexagon to really build that seamless smart digital operations and maintenance, smart digital design, all of those tools coming together to give you a digital twin of your organization. So more to come. If you see the name change or whatever, it's because Databridge Pro is growing like a snowball downhill. Speaking of Databridge Pro, one of the near-term goals for us is to deliver a template to SAP, SAP's ERP. I think I bring this up because you guys probably don't care, you probably already have something, but I bring it up to say, look, we want to start delivering pre-delivered templates. We don't live in a technology company with a bunch of enterprise solutions that we're going to force you to use. We work in a technology company with really robust, targeted niche solutions in the sense of safety and engineering and performance. Those are extending and harnessing EAM, but we know we have to work with all of the ERPs, or most of the ERPs. We have to work with procurement and business intelligence. So right now our near term is delivering a template that's out of the box for use with EAM and SAP's ERP. Moving beyond that, we're looking at other solutions as well. So I say that to say we want to be a more cohesive and a stronger technology partner organization long term. Databridge Pro allows that. And we're going to do that through the developer portal as well. So this is an exciting development that Julio and I have been yelling about for years. Not yelling at each other, yelling at everybody else. That we really need this. And we're excited to announce a Hexagon developer portal coming soon. I thought there would be a round of applause or some, there we go. This sounds lame, and you probably think it's lame, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to allow you guys to use EAM better, share tips and tricks. This is targeted for our partners or our super users at companies. But hey, have you ever built a configuration to do X, Y, Z? Have you ever built an integration to this product? It's going to be a platform where we centralize all the tools on how to use EAM and deliver predefined templates to some systems to at least get you started. So we want to make EAM not only easier to use inside the system, but outside the system as well. So it should be a big breakthrough for us as an organization as well. All right, dang, still got time for the roadmap. So I've got about 4 minutes here, but I want to do the standard roadmap presentation for you guys because I know this is what you come for. on top of everything we've talked about already. Equipment revision control is going to be a big deliverable here in May when we have our next release. I guess I should have mentioned that. The next release will be in May for cloud customers. So whenever you need to do updates to equipment in maybe really regulated or sensitive industries where you can't change equipment without any type of paper trail, big update coming. Local unit of measure, email notifications. So really working on how to send out nice, pretty emails out of EAM to your users to notify them of certain alerts or jumping into work orders. Hey, I just got an email about a work order. I click on it, it's going to open digital work, and you're going to jump right into it. So another great way to eliminate clicks and take that EAM data and make it more fluid within an organization. Native business intelligence, talked about. What else? Mobility. So we want mobility to be more visual. And so many times in digital work or the other apps, you're looking at an asset, but you don't know what it looks like in the app. So we want to make it easy to use to upload pictures of that asset, make it a profile picture, make it a header, start understanding how things look like because it's right in front of you. And then I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but map-based work order schedule. So now we know what work we have, but can we look at where it is, maybe in the sequence? Can I look at where everybody else is? This is a big thing we're seeing in technology is worker collaboration. So that involves people talking together, but also having awareness of each other as well. That can help if a tool breaks, if you need something, everybody's using the app, we have that data, so let's make it visible to everybody. Moving on to integration, additional REST APIs, the Accelerator KMS integration, again, allowing you to get more data out of EAM. And if I look at the long-term vision, so this is probably beyond May, but that could come later this year, this could come in 2030, you never know. But enhancing search, everybody uses Google, I want to get that data, I want to look up records. So we're working really hard on a back-end process to allow you to surface data without writing a crazy query or data spy to crash the cloud servers. Thank you. Dynamic scheduling and planning visualization. I know someone's going to come up and talk to us about this today. Absolutely a priority for us, but we need to get really the new interface of EAM really settled before we say we're going to hook in really nice planning visualization add-ons. But definitely a priority, definitely something we're taking feedback for. We want to make that planner, that maintenance schedule's life easier when it comes to what's my crew, what are they working on, what can I switch them to, and that whole standpoint. And then utility GIS integration, looking at both some Hexagon products that help with this, and obviously leading GIS products in the market today. And inventory workflow, I think I'll end on this. Oh, I'll end on two more. So generative AI assistant, Hexagon, Alex, and mobile. But it's not just that. When I look at the future of work, if anybody's ever used ChatGPT to look up a recipe and help them cook, ChatGPT has a really powerful voice module that can walk you step by step through instructions and you can talk to it. Doesn't that apply to work orders? Doesn't that apply to checklists? If I'm in a machine, if I'm on tools, can I just talk to mobility to walk me through this checklist and record my results? Something that we're really looking at. And then inventory workflow, can we have a dedicated app for our storeroom clerks, our MRO usage, issue and returning? Can we really knock it out of the park with how they manage EAM? So that's the roadmap. If you want to learn more about EAM after this week, which hopefully we scratch all the itches, what you're wondering, but we have an awesome program called the Technical User Forum. We do virtual meetings once a quarter, led by our solution design team, that the people that built it or customers that are using it. So a really comprehensive agenda, attendees, people that present. Check out the Tough. I think the best way, you can scan this right now, you can go online, you can check out on LinkedIn, but join the Tough. We have a Teams group, you can communicate and so forth. And then finally, my paid advertisement, come to Hexagon Live. June 16th through the 19th, It's going to be fun, it's going to be informative, and it's going to be fun. It's at the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas, brand new facility, so should be an amazing event. So hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for being customers, partners, part of our community, and attending the session today.